You're watching TerrierVision.
Thank you for being here. Today is a culmination of a great deal of work, a great deal of commitment, a great deal of sacrifice. And I say that speaking of our assistant coaches. They did a tremendous job. The hours that they put in on the phone, the hours that they put in on the road, the hours that they take away from their family is tremendous. But that's the nature of the beast. We have been very blessed to have some outstanding coaches, guys that truly care about the Wofford Nation and Wofford football. And I've been very fortunate to have these great guys as my staff. When you look at last year was a good year. It wasn't a great year. It wasn't a great year, and it wasn't a great year because we didn't achieve our goals. Our first goal was to win the Southern Conference. Our second goal was to win the national championship. And I truly feel that if I'll do a better job of coaching them this year, we may have an opportunity to accomplish those goals. We had a group of kids that battled, that came to work every day, that did the right things on and off the field. And when it came time to play, it didn't matter whether it was over in Death Valley against the Clemson Tigers or whether it was there in northern Iowa playing in the playoff games. They brought it and they played their brains out.
As Coach Ayers touched on, there's 3 running backs that we're going to introduce in the class of 2012. And very, very excited about these 3 guys. For the first time since I've been here, this will be my 4th season, it's the top 3 guys that we had on our board. Every February, we'll have a whiteboard that we put our top recruits in each category position. This year, we got the top 3. That doesn't happen much. And it doesn't happen much because as our success has increased every year, we start competing for guys that are highly recruited from other schools, whether it's mid-majors, the service academies, 1A programs, or other conference opponents at our level. So the commodity that we're searching after is highly sought after. So for us to get the top 3 is a great accomplishment. We're very excited about these 3 guys. I'll start in alphabetical order. Will Gay is a local product from right down the road in Anderson, South Carolina. He graduates from T.L. Hanna High School in May. He's a 5'9", 180-pound back, and all 3 of these guys we're going to say are running backs. Now we'll have a halfback that everybody sees as the wing that plays on the perimeter, and then the fullback that lines up behind the quarterback and is also more of an interior back. These guys we're going to say are running backs because I think that they're versatile enough to play both positions, and we're going to tweak some things and tinker with it to see which one is the most easily adapted to that position. But Will was named the MVP of his team his senior year. He was all region. He rushed for over 1,800 yards and 299 carries. So that's over 20 carries a game. And he played in 11 games. He's going to be a great asset to our program. You know, he's a speedy back, and he broke Brian Maddox. Some of you guys may know Brian Maddox, a local South Carolina USC running back, broke his school rushing record this past season. He's a tough football player, and he actually had over 40 carries in one game this year. So we're very excited about what Will brings. The next running back is from the Orlando area in Florida. His name is Treyas Geralds. Treyas is a 5'8", 175-pound back. He comes to us from Lake Mary High School. He graduated in December. He'll be here Friday, so he'll be here for spring practice. He'll have a head start on a lot of your traditional freshmen that comes in August. So we're really, really amped up to get him here and get him in the swing of things. He rushed for over 1,000 yards in just 8 games. He had an ankle injury that kind of kept him out of a few ball games late in the season. He was all-conference and honorable mention all-state. He also participated in the Central Florida All-Star game. He set the school record with a 555-pound back squat. And for anybody that is familiar with weights, that's half 1,000 pounds. And that's taking it, and he drops all the way down and will take his tail almost below to his ankles and comes back up explosively with 555 pounds. That's pretty impressive. So he's a strong back. He's compact and elusive, has very good balance, has good vision, and it didn't take long to see his film. We kind of got on him late in the process, and we turned it on and kind of decided late in the film that, hey, this is a guy we want to get some more information about, and it turned out pretty well. And we're excited to have Trez, and he'll be here again on Friday to start next semester with the team. Lastly is another local product from Dorman High School. He's Dorman's all-time leading rusher, but goes by the name of Raymond Smith. Raymond is a 5'7", 185-pound running back. He was all-region, all-area, and all-state during his junior and senior seasons. He rushed for over 1,800 yards as well and had over 220 carries and 30 touchdowns. A lot of statistics, a lot of numbers, a lot of production. What caught our eye with Raymond, we had 2 one-day senior camps in the summertime, and Raymond came and participated in one of those camps, and he ran the fastest time of anybody that we had during those 2 camps, those 2 events. So he's a speedy back. He possesses some top-end speed that we hope will be able to separate from some defenses and allow us to play vertically a little bit. He was also an all-academic guy for 2 times a rush for over 1,700 yards his junior year. So again, those 3 guys, Will Gay, Trez Geralds, and Raymond Smith, we're very, very excited about these 3 and what they'll do for our program in the future.
Got 3 guys that we signed this year on the offensive line. Very excited about all 3. Like Coach Johnson explained a little bit earlier, these 3 guys were 3 of our top guys on our board this year at offensive line. And very excited to have all 3 of them. The first young man is Bradley Way. Bradley's from Covington Catholic High School in northern Kentucky. It's just right south of Cincinnati, Ohio, actually, just right across the river. It's a great football program. He's the right tackle as you watch the film, number 62. Physical young man, very good student athlete. Very excited to have Bradley here. He was all-state in Kentucky on 2 different teams. Made the all-northern Kentucky team as well, was on the Kentucky All-Star team as well. Very good player, very excited to have Bradley. He's got a couple of younger brothers that are really looking forward to coming and watching him play. Good family, and about 6'2", 280, big physical kid. Came to our camp this summer, our one-day camp, and that really allowed me to have an opportunity to work with him and feel very comfortable with him and what he can do for our program in the future. So Bradley Way, really looking forward to having him here. Next young man is Ty Youngblood. Ty also plays right tackle. He's number 78 on that film there. He's got a very good frame, 6'4", 270. I've gotten to know Ty's offensive line coach there at McCauley School, which is in Chattanooga, and Mike Newman really helped us get Ty this year. Coach Newman's come to our clinic several times and was a good asset for us. You'll notice watching the film some of those plays you might recognize. They run some of our offensive plays, some of our shotgun plays, and so that it really helped watching the film on Ty to see how he can fit right into what we're doing. I told him, you know, all you're going to have to do on most of your plays there is just learn the new name. So really looking forward to having him here. He also was all-state in Tennessee. He goes to school in Tennessee but lives in Georgia. So he's a 2-state guy. Started 33 straight games at right tackle for McCauley, which is a good program. He made the East-West Tennessee All-Star game and also the Tennessee-Kentucky All-Star game. So real good player. Was all region as well as a junior and a senior. And Ty's a really good wrestler. Right now he's ranked the number 1 wrestler at the highest division in Tennessee in the heavyweight division. So that really speaks to his flexibility and hips and explosion, and very excited to have Ty. And then last but not least, Daquan Miller from Columbia, AC Flora High School, in-state guy. Daquan also came to our summer camp this summer, and again, really allowed me the opportunity to work with him and see what he can do. Daquan is about 6'2". This says 295. You'll see that's a little higher than on the sheet here. I just found out he's bulking up a little bit. But as Coach said, he's working really hard, which is a good thing. Coach Dean Howell was a great help for us on Daquan. I saw a film about this time last year on Daquan. Actually, one of our alumni sent it to me from Columbia, and it was him getting an award for one of the news stations, an all-academic award. And so since then, I got on him, and he's going to be a real good player for us. Great family, and very excited to be a Terrier. He sent us a photo this morning with him in his Wofford hat and gold and black and all that. So he's ready to join the family. But Daquan also was All-State, so all 3 gentlemen were All-State. And Daquan started his junior and senior year, was a 4-year letterman at AC Flora, was All-State, All-Area, and played in the North-South All-Star game this winter. So very excited to have him, and all 3 of these guys, really looking forward to getting them here.
3 defensive line signees today, and before I get into each one individually, I have been blessed, we all been blessed to have some tremendous players to work with, and opportunity to coach and be involved with their lives in my 18 years here. And these 3 young men that we are fortunate enough to get today as a group, probably as good a group we've ever had. And I'm excited to get started with them. I wish we could start tomorrow. But they're all great players, obviously, and we feel strong about what they can do on the field, but they're even better people. They're all just tremendous young men. They're going to represent the school in everything we ask them to do at the highest level. The first guy I'd like to introduce you to is Hunter Thurley. Hunter's a defensive end recruit. He's 6'4", 215-pound, 5-technique edge rusher. He is from Christ Presbyterian Academy in Nashville, Tennessee. Hunter was All-State, made the East-West All-Star game in the state of Tennessee, was All-Mid-State and All-District. Also is a really good baseball player. The thing that sold us on Hunter, really liked his film, his highlight film, his game film, but Coach Ayers and a few coaches, we went up to see him practice in this Tennessee All-Star game, and watching him practice for 2 hours against the best players in the state of Tennessee sold me. His work ethic, as we say in our business, his motor never stopped, and has a tremendous upside. Great athlete, great football player, very knowledgeable football player, and has a really big upside. Really think he's going to help us rush a quarterback. He's a tremendous athlete, very long kid, and very athletic. So very excited about what Hunter brings to the table. Next young man is Tom Bove. My man, Tom, he was the first commitment we had. I think Tom committed to us early July. And Tom's a nose guard. He's kind of comparable to Coach Fuqua back in the day, and a guy you might know, Lee Basinger. He is a tough kid. He is a 4-year starter from Parkview Baptist High School down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And he's All-State for 3 years. Won the state championship as a junior, played in it as a sophomore, and went to the semis this year as a senior. Three-time All-State in Louisiana is pretty impressive. He was also the defensive MVP in the state of Louisiana as a junior. Recorded 265 tackles from a nose guard position in 4 years, which is pretty remarkable. 62.5 tackles for a loss and 22.5 sacks. He is he is in the top 5 in 6 career defensive categories at Parkview Baptist, and they turn out some pretty good football players. He was the defensive MVP in the district twice, and the MVP, overall MVP in the district twice. And Tom is a guy that's played the position he'll play here. They run the same defense we do, so we feel strong that he can come in and help us out pretty quick. Tom is also the FCA leader at his school. Tremendous kid. The last young man I'd like to introduce you to is Conor Cannon. Conor is a defensive end. He's 6'1", 235 pounds from Marquette University High School in Milwaukee. We went all over the place to get some defensive linemen this year, so I have to give credit to Coach FUQUA on this one. He found him and got him excited about us and did a great job in recruiting. But Tom is a two-time All-Conference, second-team All-State, had 105 tackles this year, 4 tackles for a loss, and 6 forced fumbles. I think one thing that stands out about Conor is he has got an energy level. When you meet him, he just jumps out at you, grabs your hand, is an excitable kid, plays extremely, as you see, extremely hard. He is a kind of old throwback. He has got a lot of ability, played some inside backer this year as well, so he's a guy that's versatile enough and athletic enough to do a lot of different things, but also intelligent enough to play several positions. And very fortunate to have Conor on board, and again, as a whole, as a collective group, as good a group as we've ever brought in. We're very excited about these 3 kids.
I coach the corners here. There's 2 guys that we have committed. It's kind of difficult when you come into a program when you're the new guy and you get into the recruiting process very late. So one of the first guys that I was able to evaluate and get to see is Joshua Grimes. Josh is from Sandy Creek High School in Tyrone, Georgia. He was at our one-day camp this summer, and we had the luxury of working with him, Coach Wood and myself. And one thing that I noticed about Josh is when you coach Josh, he always looked you in the eye. He always said, "Yes, sir," and he always tried to apply exactly what you just taught him. And I think that's important as I go out and try to recruit guys. When I shake their hand and they look you in the eye, is he a winner, and is he a physical guy? In our league in the Southern Conference, you have to tackle to be good in the secondary. And in the secondary, everybody thinks of secondary guys as guys that cover the pass. But in our league, you have to be able to tackle. Josh Grimes is a unique young man. He is very physical, but small in stature. And you'll see on the tape, he makes a lot of physical tackles. Josh was coached by a guy named Chip Walker, who was a former coach here at Wofford for Coach Ayers. Josh had the luxury of winning 2 state championships at Sandy Creek High School in the state of Georgia. In his high school career, he had 54 wins to only 3 losses. And that guy's a winner. And we're very excited about him and what he can bring to our program. One other thing about Josh is he has a cousin that plays for the Atlanta Falcons, Brent Grimes. So he has a bloodline, a pedigree for being a good football player. I hope that he's a Pro Bowler like his cousin Brent was this past week, got to play in the Pro Bowl. So he has a football pedigree, and he also has a military background. I think him and Coach Ayers hit it off pretty well. He's retired military, and his father's now works for Delta and is an air marshal. So we're very excited about Josh Grimes coming into our program. The next young man is Chris Armfield. Chris Armfield is a 5'11", 170-pound corner from Cordova, Tennessee, right outside of Memphis. Played at Evangelical Christian. I call Chris kind of our diamond in the rough guy. Chris was an all-state player this year at Evangelical Christian. He was all-region. He also, in the history of the school, has the most yards for kick return and punt returns ever. So he's a great return guy as well. He was also a winner. Chris was a state champion last year in the 200 meters in the state of Tennessee, and he was second in 100 meters. So we've got a guy that can really run and do some great things for us. I call Chris our diamond in the rough guy at corner. Tim Johnson, who was a basketball player here for 4 years, who's went on to be a graduate assistant coach at Wyoming, tipped our hat to Chris. Chris was slated to commit to another school in our conference. And Tim told him, before you commit, you need to just go take a look at Wofford. And he came down with his dad. His dad got in touch with me, and he came down with his dad. And we didn't really know what to expect. We knew what we saw on the film, didn't know a whole lot about him. But I knew, I had a lot of conversations with his dad, and felt really good about his background. His father runs a Memphis athletic ministries in this Memphis area. He runs 10 athletic ministry programs there. So I knew we were getting a good, strong character young man, and a young man that had been in a Christian environment, which I feel good about, and he had been in a winning program. Chris came onto our campus. He had been to a lot of big universities to visit, and he came onto our campus after one day of his official visit. He said, "Coach, this is where I want to be." He said, "I feel comfortable here. This is the environment that I'm used to." So we're excited about Chris. Chris has great speed and great cover ability, and we're excited about the things that he'll do for us the next 4 years. That's our corners.
I'm up here to talk about Tyler Gleason. And Tyler's the inside linebacker for us. And you know, one thing about him, you know, we got onto him, you know, a little bit late. Coach Brown brought me some film on him in November, and we sat down, took a look at him. And man, he was making an awful lot of tackles, and just piqued everybody's interest, and we wanted to find out more about him. And if there's one thing that I can say about him, it's probably, you know, he's come a long way in a short period of time. And it's probably a good thing that we got on him late, because, you know, I come to find out, his junior year, he was about 5'8" and about 165, 175 pounds. So he grew almost 6 inches, you know, in between his junior year and his senior year. And if he grows another 6 inches, heck, we may have to share him with Coach Young and that basketball team. But he's grown an awful lot in a short period of time, and he's put on a lot of weight. And the way he put on that weight it's good weight too. I mean, if you're to sit across from him and look at him, you'll really like the way he looks. And when I went down there to see him in December, one of the things that I came away knowing was he was going to be a guy that was determined. He might not say a lot of things talking to you, but what he says you can believe, and he's going to do his best. And you know, I really look forward to him coming on board with us this year. He had 139 tackles his senior year, splitting some time at linebacker. They rotated 3 linebackers through at 2 spots this year. So I thought 139 tackles, that's outstanding. And I think that was probably in the top 25 in the state of Florida. He led his county in tackles. And then, you know, when I was down there meeting him, you know, I remember shaking his hand, and as we were getting ready to go, I think, my goodness, he's got big, strong hands, strong handshake, and really stern jaw, and great eyes that are pierced right through you. And he said, "Coach, I've got a game film I can send to you too that I think will be pretty good. I made 24 tackles." And I said, 24 tackles in one game? I'd like to see that. So I went back and I counted every one of them. He was exactly right. I mean, he made 24 of them. A lot of times when you hear, you know, 24 tackles, it might be somebody landing on top of a pile that, you know, where the whistle is blown. You talk about the echoes of the whistle, echoes of the whistle, you know, big pile, and you just jump on and give you credit for the tackle. That wasn't the way with this guy. He made them all, and most of them were solo. He has a great vision. He reads schemes well. He runs to the football. He plays physical, big, strong hands that'll help bring down ball carriers in the open field. I said that he made 139 tackles. That was top 25 in the state of Florida. And he plays in a league. He's from Ponte Vedra High School and plays in a league that is pretty good football down there around that Jacksonville area. He was honorable mention First Coast. And you know, making 24 tackles, that wasn't just in a regular season game. That was in a playoff game against the eventual state runner-up. So there's an awful lot of things that I could stand up here and tell you about Tyler. I'm real excited about him coming into our program. And let's just suffice it to say, I think he's going to fit in great with the rest of our guys in this recruiting class.
I just want to tell Tom Bove, if he's watching, I love you as well. Look forward to having you in front of my guys. But we had an opportunity to recruit one man at outside linebacker. Didn't come across him till late in the process. He's from LaSalle High School in Cincinnati, Ohio, where Ben Miller played. Graduated a couple years ago for us. Coach Nash come upon him, brought us the film, evaluated his highlights, really liked the way he came off the edge. Very talented young man. Had a little bit more lead in his tail than maybe a couple guys that I have right now, so I was looking for a little guy that could set the edge a little bit for us, a little bit easier. So once he got down on his visits, he weighed in at 6 foot, 220 pounds already as a freshman. Going to do great things for us. He led her twice his junior and senior year. They were 16-5 over that time, won a championship. He was second team all GLC, which is the Greater Catholic League up there. Very strong teams in competition. He posted 78 tackles, 3 sacks, an interception, 2 fumbles, and actually blocked a punt and returned it for 15 yards his senior year. Very strong academic kid, about a 3.8 GPA. He was all district or all-star for 3 years, and also plays a little bit of basketball. His older brother is a sophomore at a young school right up the road, and just think he's going to add great depth to the group of guys that I have. Going to learn and hopefully grow into be a great player.
Drake Michelson is coming to Wofford, and I could not be more excited about that than I am. But before I go into Drake a little bit further, I want to kind of hit on a reoccurring theme of this event, and I want to just spend a minute talking about Coach Nate Woody. Coach Woody, can I get a show of hands of folks in the room that maybe know Coach Woody, know of Coach Woody? Just a show of hands. Don't be bashful. A lot of people. That's good. Good. Coach Woody recruited Drake for us and did a phenomenal job with him. He's coming to Wofford, and Drake was a guy, or is a guy, that had a lot of opportunities and was probably one of the more high-profile guys that we've recruited and gotten to sign with us since I've been coaching here at Wofford. So he did a phenomenal job with Drake. But for those of you that know Coach Woody, I think you can appreciate and should understand how much Drake really does like it here at Wofford and is excited about joining our family, despite the fact that he had to get recruited by Coach Woody. So he does love it here. Coach Woody truly did do a phenomenal job with Drake and the whole recruiting process. And I would definitely say this, that Wofford as a community is really the reason that we ended up with Drake Michelson. He is a very focused guy who has a lot of talents in the classroom, on the field, in the community. He's a guy of very strong faith, and I think that Wofford as a whole, the whole package, athletics, academics, the social life, those were the things that he valued, and that's the reason that he's going to join us next year. But a few more things on Drake. Drake was actually a linebacker at Eden Prairie High School. They were 12-1 this year. They won the state championship game. Drake was a first-team All-State selection by the Associated Press in Minnesota. He had 82 tackles this year as a senior. He had 2 interceptions, and Drake's going to play safety for us. What I would tell you about Drake, looking at him on film, is he is explosive, he's fast, he's a big physical guy, he tackles extremely well, and he has a really good understanding of the game and a good nose for the ball. And hopefully I won't screw him up too much. I think he will definitely help me, just like these guys that I had this past year. He'll help me keep my job for a couple more years, even though I might not really deserve it. So I'm definitely excited about having him, and I think he'll do a nice job for us.
Evan Jacks. Evan Jacks is a guy, after we played Chattanooga and got back to Wofford, we had that couple days off before Thanksgiving. We had a bye in the first round, and we get probably 20, 30 emails a day on quarterbacks, on offensive linemen, on defensive linemen, all kind of stuff. And late, I think it was Tuesday night, I got one that came in real late when I was starting to leave, and I took a look at it and thought he was pretty good. And so I emailed the coach to get film and all that, and I sent it to Coach Ayers, and Coach had already gone home. I put on there, I think this guy's pretty good. Take a look and let me know what you think. Well, as Coach does most of the time, he gets here before all of us. He got here the next morning and had actually received the same email. So he sent me an email before I got here the next morning that said, you need to take a look at this one. I think he's pretty good, and I think he's got it. And when we talk about having it, that's something that doesn't get passed around a whole lot. It's a God-given gift to make decisions about things, and in our offense, those guys have to do that. Evan is, he's going to remind you of a couple different people. He's kind of a cross between Mitch Allen and Steve DeVitt. He's got some great skills running the football. He rushed for a little bit over 900 yards this past year. Like Steve, he throws the ball very well. 61% completions, over 2,300 yards throwing the football this year. So he had 3,200 yards, counted for 25 touchdowns. The other thing about him, I went down and watched him play basketball not too long ago, and for those of you that, excuse me, for those of you, and I'm sure most of you do, watch our basketball team, he reminds me an awful lot of Brad Losing in the fact that Brad Losing is a guy that when you walk out and look at him, you may say, I'm not sure he's the guy, but when you watch him play and you see the things he does, he's got it. And like that game the other night where he had 10 assists, and you know, I think that's the way that Evan is going to be for us. One last thing about him, he came up this past week in the middle of the week on a visit, didn't commit to us while he was here, and that concerned us. Always when they leave campus without committing, it's a little concern. He got, I think, probably down the herring circle before he called back, and the excitement in his voice just kind of excited us and decided to come to Wofford. He was told that when he does commit, he needs to get his application done and all that kind of stuff to the school. I called the next night to ask him if he remembered to start his application, and he's already done with it. He called me at 7:30 this morning to say that he'd already faxed in the scholarship in the NLI. So he's one of those guys that he's going to do what he says, and I think he'll end up being a very good football player for us.
The guy I'm going to talk about today is Wade Francis. He's our one receiver commit for this year, a guy that we're really excited about on the offensive side of the ball. He, like some of our other coaches said, he's the #1 guy since day one, since last spring, the first day I came. He was the #1 guy on the board, and I think we were tremendously lucky that he really loves this place. He's really excited about coming here. He calls me all the time, tells me how excited he's ready to come. This morning he called me all morning, trying to make sure his paperwork was right so he could come. So we're glad about that. He's a 6'3" receiver, probably closer to 6'4", 200 pounds. Comes from Centennial High School, from Alpharetta, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. And I think he has an amazing potential. I think he hasn't even scratched the surface of what he can be. You can tell his junior year he had 24 catches. In his senior year he had almost 50 catches. And his junior year he had almost 300 yards. Until last year he had almost 900 yards. So he's still developing as a player. And we're really excited about the things he's going to be able to do here. And hopefully he can stay happy and we'll keep him happy. And he'll have a good 4 years at Wofford.
We're looking for good people. We're looking for people that want an opportunity to come to a school that has the ability to change their life, not just for 4 years, not just for a football season, but for a lifetime. And for the longest time, I used to think, well, it's just 4 years. That's what you do. And then they move on, and we're going to make that guy's life better. But in reality, we not only make his life better, but we make his wife, his children to come, and the children after that to come, generation after generation. I was one that came out of a family that, quite frankly, none had ever gone to college. And I was the first to go. And all 3 of my children have gone. And I promise you, all of our grandchildren, they're going to go somehow, some way. And that's the neat thing about this whole thing that we're talking about. We love winning those football games. We love flying that gold and black colors. But in reality, we love seeing those guys cross that stage, and we love seeing those guys going out and making a difference for them and for their families and for this world. We have a coaching staff that I would put up against anybody in the country. I don't care. They're great teachers, they're great communicators, and they're great motivators. And that's what it takes. We've been blessed to have great kids, and that's through hard work. It doesn't happen by accident. It does not happen by accident. And sometimes we must go beyond the boundaries of South Carolina and North Carolina and Georgia. Sometimes we have to go all the way out to the West Coast. Sometimes we have to go all the way down to where they have etouffee and crawfish in Louisiana. But it does not matter how far a guy is, we're going to do our best to find the best guys, the right guys, the ones that are going to be winners for us here at Wofford.